Deep beneath the city of Seoul, in bunkers that officially did not exist, Dr. Park So-young watched as her life's work finally came alive. The Project Prometheus command center hummed with activity as technicians activated systems that had been waiting decades for this moment. Solar Lance Network is at 40% power and climbing, reported her chief engineer. All asteroid installations are responding normally. Dr. Park So-young nodded, but her attention was focused on the main display showing the alien fleet. For 20 years, she had studied fragments of crashed alien ships found drifting in deep space. She had learned their technology, understood their weapons, and most importantly, discovered their weaknesses. "What's the status on the gravity well generators?" she asked. "Installation complete on all primary targets," came the reply. Dr. Shin's team finished the last one this morning. The aliens had no idea what was waiting for them. They saw Earth's small fleet and assumed humanity was defenseless. They didn't know about the weapons hidden throughout the solar system, or the fact that humans had been preparing for this exact scenario since the first crashed alien ship was found. Captain Nam Soo-jin stood in the control room of what appeared to be a simple mining asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. In reality, it was one of 47 Solar Lance installations that could focus stellar energy into coherent beams. Each installation was powerful enough to crack a moon in half. "Power levels are optimal," her weapons officer reported. "We have clear firing solutions on the entire alien fleet." Nam Soo-jin had trained for this moment her entire career. Every human military officer had learned about the theoretical alien threat and how to respond to it. But none of them had expected it to happen so soon or to be so overwhelmingly large. "Hold position," she ordered. "Wait for the Admiral's signal." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as research stations powered up their main guns. Asteroid miners revealed hidden missile batteries. Even the space elevators on Earth and Mars contained concealed defense systems. Colonel Choi Hun-woo ran final checks on his fighter's quantum cascade device. The small black box attached to his ship's reactor didn't look like much, but it contained enough destructive power to vaporize everything within 1,000 kilometers, including his own ship. "Are you sure about this, sir?" asked Lieutenant Park Jin-ho over the squadron's private channel. The survival rates from the simulations weren't exactly encouraging. Choi Hyun-woo smiled grimly. The Pandora Protocol was designed to turn human fighters into guided nuclear weapons. The idea was simple. If you couldn't win a normal space battle, you changed the rules. Each fighter would ram into the enemy formation and detonate its cascade device, creating a miniature star that would destroy everything nearby. "The escape pods have been upgraded," he told his pilots. "New gravity shielding should protect us from the worst of the explosion. Besides, would you rather die fighting or live as a slave?" The answer came back in 43 voices speaking as one: "Fight." Dr. Shin Yoon-seo worked frantically in her laboratory orbiting Neptune. Her team had made the most important discovery in the history of human science. Alien power cores were incredibly advanced, but they had a fatal flaw. The dimensional rifts that powered their ships were stable only under specific conditions. "The gravity well generators are in position," her assistant reported, one attached to each enemy ship. The generators were tiny devices, no larger than a softball, but they could create localized gravitational fields strong enough to destabilize an alien power core. The trick had been getting them attached to the enemy ships without being detected. "How did we manage that?" Dr. Shin had asked when the stealth team reported success. "The aliens scan for weapons and large objects," the team leader had explained. "They don't scan for something the size of a communication probe. We just had to get close enough to attach them. Now those tiny devices would be the key to humanity's survival." Admiral Kang Dae-ho reviewed the tactical display one more time. Every human ship was in position. Every hidden weapon was ready. Every secret installation was powered up and waiting. In 60 years of military service, he had never seen a plan this complex or this desperate. "All stations report ready," Captain Lee Hyojin announced. "We have firing solutions on all targets." The alien fleet hung in space like sleeping giants, confident in their overwhelming superiority. Their ships were massive and heavily armed, protected by energy shields that could deflect almost any conventional weapon. Under normal circumstances, they would be right to feel confident. But these weren't normal circumstances. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the alien fleet. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung's voice filled the bridge of the Incheon. Human vessels, you have 36 hours remaining to comply with tribute demands. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Admiral Kang Dae-ho picked up the microphone and opened a channel to every ship in both fleets. Commander Yoon Tae-sung, this is Admiral Kang Dae-ho of the Earth Defense Force. We have a counter-proposal. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, the alien commander leaned forward with interest. It had been decades since a species had attempted to negotiate rather than simply surrender. We propose that you leave our system immediately, Kang Dae-ho continued. Take your ships and go back to wherever you came from. Tell your empire that Earth is not interested in paying tribute to anyone. Yoon Tae-sung's laugh resonated across the communication channel. Admiral, you command 40 primitive ships against my fleet of 60 advanced dreadnoughts. Each of my vessels could destroy your entire fleet single-handedly. What possible reason do I have to negotiate with you? Because, Admiral Kang Dae-ho replied calmly, you don't understand what you're dealing with. The channel closed, leaving both fleets in tense silence. In her laboratory, Dr. Park So-young watched as the Solar Lance network reached full power. The installations throughout the asteroid belt were now drawing energy directly from the sun itself, focusing it through a network of mirrors and amplifiers that stretched across millions of kilometers. We're reading some incredible energy levels, her technician reported. Each Lance installation is generating power equivalent to a small star. Dr. Park So-young had designed the system based on alien technology, but improved with human engineering. The aliens used brute force in their weapons. Humans used precision and efficiency. Captain Nam Soo-jin received new targeting data from the command center. The alien ships were arranged in a standard intimidation formation, designed to look impressive and threatening. Unfortunately for them, it also made them perfect targets for the Solar Lance network. All installations report ready to fire, she told Admiral Kang Dae-ho. We can light up their entire fleet in less than 10 seconds. Colonel Choi Hyun-woo led his fighter squadron through final preparations. Each pilot had said goodbye to their families and written final letters. The Pandora Protocol was a suicide mission with a small chance of survival, but it was also the most effective way to destroy an enemy fleet that outnumbered them 60-40. Remember, he told his pilots over the squadron channel, we're not trying to win a dogfight. We're trying to get close enough to detonate. Speed and surprise are everything. The fighters were loaded with every stealth system humanity had ever developed. To enemy sensors, they would look like space debris or communication probes until the moment they armed their cascade devices. Dr. Shin Un-seo put the finishing touches on her gravitational calculations. The alien power cores were incredibly stable under normal conditions, but if you could create the right kind of interference, they would tear themselves apart in a cascade failure. Are you sure this will work? Her assistant asked for the 20th time. The math is solid, she replied. When we activate the gravity well generators, those alien ships will lose main power in less than 30 seconds. After that, they'll be sitting ducks. Fleet Admiral Kim Min-ho coordinated the final preparations from his command center on Earth. Every branch of the military was involved in Project Prometheus. The Army had provided the ground-based installations. The Navy had contributed the space-based platforms. The Air Force had developed the fighter tactics. All units report ready, his aide announced. We can begin the attack in 15 minutes. Kim Min-ho looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. In a few hours, this would all be over. Either humanity would win the most important battle in their history, or they would be extinct. Signal all commands, he ordered. Prometheus Protocol is active. Begin final countdown. The message went out to every human installation in the solar system. On Earth, families gathered around their televisions to watch the news reports. In the colonies on Mars and the outer planets, people said prayers for the brave souls about to fight for their freedom. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Incheon and watched the countdown timer reach 0. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency, each person focused on their assigned task. All stations report ready, Captain Lee Hae-jin announced. Weapons are charged, targets are locked, and all units are standing by for your order. The Admiral looked out at the alien fleet one more time. The warning signals came at exactly 14:32 Earth Standard Time on a Tuesday. That would change everything. Admiral Kang Dae-ho was drinking his morning coffee on the bridge of the ESS Incheon when the long-range sensors picked up the massive energy signatures approaching from beyond Pluto's orbit. "Sir, we have contacts," Captain Lee Haijin called from her station. Her voice was steady, but Dae-ho could hear the tension underneath. 60 large vessels moving in formation. They're not responding to our identification requests. Dae-ho set down his coffee cup and walked to the main view screen. The computer was already working to enhance the images, turning dots of light into recognizable shapes. What he saw made his blood run cold. The ships were enormous, each one easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest battleships. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never known fear. "Get me a priority channel to Earth Command," Dae-ho ordered, "and start recording everything." The alien fleet took 12 hours to reach Earth's outer defense perimeter. During that time, every human ship in the solar system moved to intercept positions. It was a pitiful sight compared to the massive alien armada. Earth had 40 ships total, ranging from massive dreadnoughts to small patrol craft. The aliens had 60 ships, and each one could probably destroy half of Earth's fleet by itself. Dr. Park So-young watched the approaching fleet from her laboratory on the moon. She had been studying alien technology for most of her adult life, working with fragments and debris from crashed ships found in deep space. But she had never seen anything like this. The ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, their hulls gleaming like polished metal under the distant light of the sun. "They're not here for peaceful contact," she told her assistant over the comm. "Look at the formation. Those are warships arranged for intimidation and attack." The first communication from the aliens came 18 hours after their arrival. It was broadcast on every frequency humans used, translated into broken versions of Earth's major languages. The voice that spoke was deep and resonating, clearly coming through some kind of universal translator. "Primitive species of the third planet," the voice began. "I am Fleet Commander Yoon Tai-sung of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been selected for tribute collection under Imperial Decree 7439. Admiral Kang Dae-ho listened to the message from the bridge of his ship. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel their anger building. The alien's words were casual, as if he was discussing the weather rather than threatening an entire planet. "The tribute requirements are as follows," Yoon Tai-sung continued. 10% of your total population will be transferred to hegemony labor camps. 50% of all mineral resources will be extracted and shipped to Imperial processing centers. All military technology will be surrendered. All space-capable vessels will be destroyed. Compliance is mandatory. Captain Lee Hee-jin's hands clenched into fists as she listened. She had grown up hearing stories about humanity's struggle to reach the stars, about the brave men and women who had built Earth's first space colonies. Now some alien empire wanted to destroy it all and turn humans into slaves. "The deadline for compliance is 72 Earth hours from this transmission," the alien commander said. "Failure to comply will result in complete planetary sterilization. This is the only warning you will receive." The message ended, leaving the bridge in silence. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood up from his command chair. "Get me a secure channel to all ship commanders," he said quietly, "and patch in Earth Command, Luna Base, and the Mars colonies. It's time." Dr. Park So-young received the priority transmission in her laboratory. The message was simple but had been planned for decades. "Project Prometheus is active. All protocols are now in effect." She smiled grimly and began entering authorization codes into her computer. Around the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. Secret installations that had been disguised as mining operations or research stations were coming online. Weapons that had been hidden in asteroids and moons were powering up. The plan that humanity had hoped they would never need was finally beginning. Captain Nam Soo-jin commanded one of Earth's orbital defense platforms. To the aliens, it looked like a simple communications satellite. In reality, it was the control center for the Solar Lance network, a web of particle accelerators that could focus the sun's energy into devastating beams. "All Lance stations report ready," she told Admiral Kang Dae-ho over the secure channel. "We can light them up whenever you give the word." Colonel Choi Hyun-woo was making final preparations aboard his fighter squadron's carrier ship. Each of the small craft had been equipped with what the scientists called quantum cascade devices. The aliens probably expected human fighters to be armed with simple missiles or energy weapons. They would be very surprised. "How long until we launch?" asked his wingman, Lieutenant Park Jin-ho. Soon, Choi Hun-woo replied, checking his equipment one more time. The Admiral wants to see what else they show us first. Dr. Shin Yoon-seo worked frantically in her deep space laboratory, making final calculations. Her team had discovered something incredible about alien technology from studying the crashed ships. The enormous power cores that drove their vessels had a critical weakness. If you could create the right kind of gravitational field, you could make those cores tear themselves apart. Are you sure this will work? Her assistant asked nervously. It has to work, she replied. We only get one chance at this. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He was 3 meters tall with a crystalline exoskeleton that reflected light like a prism. His species, the Vorthak, had been conquering worlds for the galactic hegemony for over 1,000 years. Any response from the humans? He asked his communications officer. Nothing yet, Commander. They're probably arguing among themselves about whether to surrender. Yoon Tae-sung nodded. It was always the same. Some species surrendered immediately when they saw the size of a hegemony tribute fleet. Others tried to negotiate or beg for mercy. A few attempted to fight, but that never lasted long. The humans would probably choose surrender once they realized how hopeless their situation was. Sir, his tactical officer called out, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from various points in this system. It might just be their primitive technology, but monitor it, Yoon Tae-sung ordered. But don't worry too much. These humans barely have faster-than-light travel. Their weapons are chemical rockets and basic fusion reactors. We could destroy their entire fleet with a single ship if necessary. The hours ticked by slowly. Earth's leaders held emergency meetings while the military prepared for war. The alien fleet waited patiently, confident that the humans would see reason and surrender. After all, every species eventually did. Fleet Admiral Kim Min-ho finally broke the silence. His message was broadcast to every ship in both fleets, every station in the solar system, and every world that humans called home. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung, he said calmly, your demand for tribute has been received and carefully considered by the people of Earth and her colonies. The alien commander leaned forward in his chair, expecting to hear words of surrender. Our response follows in 71 hours and 59 minutes, Kim Min-ho continued. We suggest you use that time to prepare your ships for departure from the system. The transmission ended. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Yoon Tae-sung stared at the view screen in confusion. That hadn't sounded like surrender. It had sounded almost like a threat. He laughed, a sound like breaking glass. These humans were more amusing than most. They actually seemed to think they could fight the galactic hegemony and win. It would be almost sad to destroy them. Almost, Admiral Kang Dae-ho closed the channel and turned to face his crew. Every person on the bridge was looking at him, waiting for orders that would determine the fate of their species. All ships, he said quietly, execute Prometheus Protocol. Let's show these aliens what humans do when someone threatens our home. The countdown to humanity's response had begun. The first sign that something was wrong came to Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung as a gentle vibration through the deck plates of his flagship. The Eternal Dominion was so massive that it rarely vibrated at all, even under heavy acceleration. But now something was making the great ship tremble. Report, he ordered his tactical officer. Sir, we're detecting unusual gravitational readings throughout the fleet, came the nervous reply. Multiple gravity wells are forming around our ships. Yoon Tae-sung frowned. Gravity wells were natural phenomena that occurred near massive objects like stars or black holes. They didn't just appear in empty space around warships. Check your sensors. There must be some mistake. But there was no mistake. Dr. Shin Yoon-seo's gravity well generators were activating all around the alien fleet, creating pockets of twisted spacetime that sent several massive dreadnoughts tumbling into each other like toys in a bathtub. What is happening? Yoon Tae-sung demanded as his ship lurched sideways into one of his escort vessels. The two ships scraped against each other with a sound like tearing metal. Admiral Kang Dae-ho's voice suddenly filled every communication channel in the solar system. His words were calm and clear, but underneath them was a fury that had been building for decades. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung, he said, you came to our home demanding tribute. You threatened our families, our children, our future. You told us to surrender or die. This is humanity's reply. The Solar Lance Network fired. Captain Nam Soo-jin pressed the firing key at her station. and 47 installations throughout the asteroid belt unleashed concentrated stellar energy. Each beam contained the power output of a small star, focused through mirrors and amplifiers into a coherent lance of destruction. The beams crossed the distance between the asteroid belt and the alien fleet at the speed of light. The hegemony shields, designed to deflect conventional energy weapons and kinetic projectiles, proved completely useless against focused stellar radiation. 6 alien dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist. They didn't explode or break apart. They were there 1 second, and the next second they were expanding clouds of superheated plasma. The crews never even had time to scream. "Impossible," Yun Tai-sung shouted as he watched 6 of his most powerful ships vanish from his tactical display. "They're using our star against us." His communication officer was frantically sending messages to the surviving ships. "All vessels, evasive maneuvers. The humans have weaponized their solar system." But evasive maneuvers were difficult when gravity wells kept forming around your ships, and more solar lance beams were already charging for a second. Volley Colonel Choi Hyun-woo led his fighter squadron in what would later be called the suicide charge that wasn't. 50 human fighters accelerated toward the alien fleet at maximum speed, their pilots screaming ancient Korean battle cries over their communication channels. "For Earth," Lieutenant Park Jin-ho shouted as he dove toward a cluster of enemy ships. "For humanity," replied Captain Song Mi-kyung, her fighter loaded with enough quantum cascade devices to level a small city. The alien point defense systems opened fire, filling space with energy bolts and missile interceptors. Several human fighters exploded before they could reach their targets, but the rest pressed on, their ships protected by every stealth system and defensive measure humanity had ever developed. Yun Tai-sung watched the human attack with a mixture of horror and admiration. "They're flying directly into our guns," he told his tactical officer. "This is madness, even if they ram us. Their small ships can't do significant damage to our armor." He was about to learn how wrong he was. The first human fighter reached the alien formation and immediately activated its Pandora protocol. The quantum cascade device turned the small ship into a miniature star for exactly 3.7 seconds. The fusion explosion vaporized everything within 1,000 kilometers, including 2 alien escort ships and the fighter that had caused it. Then the second fighter detonated. And the third. And the fourth. "Sir," the alien tactical officer screamed. "They're turning their ships into bombs. Each explosion is equivalent to a fusion warhead." 50 miniature stars bloomed simultaneously within the hegemony fleet. The aliens had expected desperate ramming attacks with conventional explosives. Instead, they found themselves in the middle of a coordinated nuclear bombardment delivered by pilots who had somehow survived their own ship's destruction. Colonel Choi Hyun-woo felt his fighter tear itself apart around him as the cascade device activated. The new gravitational shielding protected him from the worst of the explosion, and his reinforced escape pod shot clear of the blast zone with its own weapons still intact. "All pilots report," he called over the squadron channel. "Phoenix 1, alive and fighting." "Phoenix 7, pod intact, engaging enemy fighters." "Phoenix 12, shaken but not stirred." 43 of the 50 pilots had survived their ship's destruction and were now attacking enemy vessels from their heavily armed escape pods. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Dr. Shin Eun-seo triggered the second phase of the attack from her laboratory orbiting Neptune. The gravity well generators that had been causing chaos in the alien formation now focused their power on a much more specific target: the dimensional rifts that powered every enemy ship. "Activate destabilization sequence," she ordered. Her team, the tiny devices attached to each alien vessel, began creating precisely calculated gravitational interference patterns. The effect was immediate and devastating. "Sir," Yun Tae-sung's engineering officer shouted over the alarms blaring throughout the Eternal Dominion. "Main power is fluctuating. The dimensional rift is becoming unstable." Throughout the fleet, alien ships began losing power as their advanced technology turned against them. Engineering sections filled with the smell of burning circuits as safety systems tried and failed to contain the cascade failures spreading through their power grids. "How are they doing this?" Yun Tae-sung demanded. "They're primitives. They barely understand their own technology, let alone ours. But humanity understood alien technology better than the aliens realized. Dr. Park So-young's decades of research had revealed every weakness in hegemony ship design. The gravity well attack was just the beginning. Admiral Kang Dae-ho watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction as the alien fleet began to come apart. 12 ships destroyed by the Solar Lance network, 8 more crippled by fighter attacks, 15 ships dead in space with failed power cores, and they were just getting started. Second wave, execute attack run, he ordered. Captain Nam Soo-jin's interdiction cruisers emerged from their hiding positions behind Jupiter's moons. To the aliens, they had appeared to be nothing more than scientific research vessels. In reality, they were equipped with faster-than-light interdiction fields that could prevent enemy ships from escaping to hyperspace. Interdiction fields active, Nam Soo-jin reported. The aliens are trapped in normal space. Yoon Tae-sung felt a chill of real fear as his navigation officer reported the impossible. Sir, we cannot jump to hyperspace. Something is interfering with our FTL drives. The humans had not only attacked them, they had made sure none of the alien ships could escape to warn the hegemony high command. This was not a defensive action. This was a carefully planned ambush. The third wave of human ships appeared from behind Mars, moving at relativistic speeds that should have been impossible for their primitive technology. These weren't the simple vessels the aliens had detected earlier. Each ship bristled with weapons that seemed to violate several laws of physics. Dr. Park So-young had reverse-engineered alien technology and then improved it with human engineering principles. The result was a fleet of ships that combined alien firepower with human innovation and tactical thinking. All ships, Admiral Kang Dae-ho ordered, target the largest enemy vessels. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The human dreadnoughts opened fire with gravity cannons that could crush a ship's hull like an empty can. Quantum torpedoes that existed in several dimensions simultaneously tore through alien shields as if they weren't there. Close-range fusion lances cut enemy vessels in half with beams of contained stellar fire. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for battles against primitives who used chemical rockets and conventional explosives. They had no defense against humans who had learned to weaponize gravity, time, and space itself. Sir, Yoon Tae-sung's tactical officer reported in a voice filled with despair. We've lost 30 ships. The humans are using weapons we don't understand. Our shields are useless. Yoon Tae-sung stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His fleet of 60 ships, which had never known defeat, was being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. Send a priority message to Hegemony Command, he ordered. Tell them the humans are not what they appear to be. They have technology that rivals our own. Request immediate reinforcement. The reply came from Supreme Commander Vex Mordun himself, transmitted across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. Impossible. The humans are barely capable of spaceflight. Destroy them and collect tribute as ordered. Yoon Tae-sung looked at his tactical display, which now showed only 23 surviving ships out of his original 60. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung stared at the tactical display showing the remains of his once mighty fleet. 23 ships. That was all that remained of the 60 vessels that had arrived with such confidence just days ago. Around him, the bridge crew of the Eternal Dominion worked frantically to keep their damaged ship operational. Engineering reports main power at 30%, his second-in-command announced. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Life support is failing in sections 4 and 9. Yoon Tae-sung barely heard the damage reports. His mind was focused on a single impossible truth. They were losing. The galactic hegemony, which had conquered worlds for 3,000 years, was being defeated by a species that had barely learned to travel between stars. Sir, his communications officer called out nervously, the humans are broadcasting again. Admiral Kang Dae-ho's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional. Commander Yoon Tae-sung, this is your final opportunity to surrender. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated according to the laws of war. The laws of war. Yoon Tae-sung almost laughed. The hegemony didn't have laws of war. They had only victory and destruction. Surrender was not a concept that existed in their military doctrine. Sir, his tactical officer whispered, what are your orders? Before Yoon Tae-sung could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. On the tactical display, new contacts were appearing at the edge of the system. For a moment, he felt hope. Perhaps Hegemony Command had sent reinforcements after all, but these weren't Hegemony ships. Captain Nam Soo-jin watched from her command center as the second phase of humanity's plan unfolded. Hidden bases throughout the outer system were releasing their secret weapons, autonomous defense drones by the thousands. Drone swarm deployment complete, she reported to Admiral Kang Dae-ho. We now have numerical superiority of approximately 50-1. Each drone was small, fast, and equipped with a single quantum torpedo. Individually, they were no match for an alien dreadnought, but there were 10,000 of them, and they attacked in coordinated waves that overwhelmed enemy point defenses. Dr. Park So-young monitored the drone attack from her command center. Each weapon had been built using a combination of human engineering and reverse-engineered alien technology. The drones were faster than anything the hegemony had ever faced, and their quantum torpedoes could phase through conventional shielding. First wave impact in 30 seconds, her tactical officer announced. The alien ships tried to defend themselves, but their weapons were designed to fight large, heavily armored vessels. The swarm of small, agile drones presented a target they had never trained to engage. Colonel Choi Hyun-woo, still fighting from his escape pod, watched as the drone swarm swept over the remaining alien ships like a cloud of metal locusts. Each drone selected a target, accelerated to maximum speed, and detonated its torpedo against the enemy hull. "It's beautiful," Lieutenant Park Jin-ho said over the squadron channel. "Like watching fireworks, except the fireworks are blowing up alien warships." The coordinated drone attack lasted exactly 7 minutes. When it was over, only 12 alien ships remained operational, and most of those were severely damaged. Dr. Shin Yun-seo activated the final phase of humanity's technological surprise. Throughout the battle, her gravity well generators had been collecting data on alien ship construction and weaknesses. Now she used that information to target the most critical systems on each remaining vessel. Initiating precision gravitational strikes, she announced to the command center. Tiny black holes, each one no larger than a marble, formed inside the engineering sections of the surviving alien ships. The gravitational fields were too small to destroy the vessels outright, but they were perfectly positioned to disable power cores, weapon systems, and life support. Yoon Tae-sung felt his ship shudder as something impossible happened in the engineering section. "Report," he shouted. "Sir, we have a localized gravitational anomaly in engineering," came the panicked reply. "It's interfering with our power core. We're losing all systems." One by one, the remaining alien ships went dark as their power systems failed. The mighty hegemony fleet, which had arrived expecting to collect tribute from a primitive world, was now drifting helplessly in space. Admiral Kang Dae-ho opened a channel to all surviving alien vessels. "This is Admiral Kang Dae-ho of the Earth Defense Force. Your fleet is defeated. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are offline. I am offering you one final chance to surrender with honor." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Yoon Tae-sung looked around at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for orders that he no longer knew how to give. In all his years of service to the hegemony, he had never faced a situation like this. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "what are your orders?" Yoon Tae-sung closed his eyes and thought about the choice before him. He could order his remaining ships to fight to the death, following hegemony doctrine to the end. But that would accomplish nothing except the needless death of his crews, or he could do something that no hegemony commander had ever done before. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he said finally. The bridge fell silent. His communications officer stared at him in shock. "Sir, you heard me? Open a channel." Admiral Kang Dae-ho's face appeared on the main screen. The human looked tired but determined, like a man who had just finished a difficult but necessary job. "Admiral," Yoon Tae-sung said, the words feeling strange in his mouth. We surrender." The silence that followed seemed to stretch for hours. Then Admiral Kang Dae-ho nodded slowly. "Commander, on behalf of Earth and her colonies, I accept your surrender. Please instruct your remaining ships to power down all weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will be treated as prisoners of war according to human military law." Yoon Tae-sung turned to his crew. "You heard him. Power down all weapons. Signal the remaining ships to do the same." As the alien weapons powered down, human ships began moving in to secure the disabled vessels. But they approached carefully, with medical ships standing by to treat wounded prisoners and engineering teams ready to provide assistance. Captain Lee Hyejin coordinated the boarding operations from the bridge of the Incheon. All teams, remember the protocols. These are prisoners of war, not criminals. Treat them with respect and dignity. The contrast was stark. When the hegemony conquered a world, they enslaved the population and stripped the planet of resources. When humanity won a battle, they provided medical care to enemy wounded and followed established rules of war. Dr. Park So-young monitored the technical analysis of captured alien ships. Each vessel was a treasure trove of advanced technology that would help humanity defend itself against future threats. "We're learning more about their capabilities," she reported to Admiral Kang Dae-ho. "Their ships are impressive, but they're designed for intimidation rather than actual combat. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical innovation." Colonel Choi Hyun-woo and his surviving pilots were finally rescued from their escape pods and brought aboard human ships. As they were debriefed, their reports painted a clear picture of the alien military mindset. "They fight like they've never faced real opposition," he told the intelligence officers. "Their tactics are basic, their formations are predictable, and they don't adapt well to unexpected situations." The boarding of the alien ships revealed even more interesting information. The crews were demoralized and confused, having never experienced defeat before. Many of them seemed genuinely shocked that the humans were treating them humanely rather than executing them or selling them into slavery. Dr. Shin Yun-seo's analysis of the alien power cores provided the most valuable intelligence. "Their technology is advanced but inflexible," she explained to the scientific committee. "They've been using the same basic designs for centuries without significant innovation. That's why our gravity well attack was so effective." As the last alien ship was secured, Admiral Kang Dae-ho found himself facing a question that no human military leader had ever confronted. What do you do with a defeated alien fleet? The answer came from Fleet Admiral Kim Min-ho, speaking for the unified Earth government. "We follow our own laws and principles. The prisoners will be treated well, their wounded will be healed, and eventually they will be returned to their people with a message. That message was already being prepared by diplomatic teams on Earth. It would be broadcast throughout the galaxy on every frequency, in every known language using communication methods both conventional and exotic." Yoon Tae-sung, now a prisoner aboard the human ship Incheon, found himself in a comfortable cell with medical care for his injuries and regular meals. It was better treatment than the hegemony had ever given to defeated enemies. "Why?" he asked Captain Lee Hyejin during one of his interrogation sessions. "Why treat us so well? We came here to enslave your people." Lee Hyejin looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Because that's who we are. We don't become monsters just because we're fighting them." As news of the battle spread throughout human space, celebrations erupted on every world and space station. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged victorious. But the leaders knew this was just the beginning. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the Incheon, looking out at the wreckage of the alien fleet. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, the galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The message from Earth had reached every corner of known space, transmitted on frequencies that penetrated even the most heavily shielded hegemony worlds. Supreme Commander Vex Mordun stood in his command center aboard the massive fortress ship Dominion's Edge, reading the reports that had been flooding in for weeks. Every single one told the same impossible story. A tribute fleet of 60 ships had been completely destroyed by a primitive species that barely understood faster than light travel. "This cannot be accurate," he told his intelligence chief. "Humans are primitives. They have chemical rockets and fusion reactors. They cannot defeat a hegemony fleet." But the evidence was overwhelming. Wreckage from hegemony ships had been found drifting in the Sol system. Survivors had been interviewed. Most damning of all, the humans had broadcast detailed recordings of the entire battle, proving that their victory was not luck but careful planning. Dr. Park So-young worked in her expanded laboratory complex, now the size of a small city built into the asteroid belt. The captured alien technology had accelerated human science by decades, but she was more interested in the strategic implications of their victory. "The aliens fight the same way every time," she explained to her research team. "They arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and destroy anyone who refuses. They've been doing this for thousands of years, and it's always worked. That's why they're so vulnerable to new tactics." The human message that had spread throughout the galaxy was simple, but devastating to hegemony authority. Admiral Kang Daiho had recorded it himself, speaking directly to every species that had ever faced a hegemony tribute fleet. To all beings who have suffered under the galactic hegemony, his message began. This is Admiral Kang Daiho of the Earth Defense Force. We want you to know that the hegemony can be defeated. Their ships can be destroyed. Their commanders can be forced to surrender. You are not helpless. The message included complete technical specifications of the weapons used against the tribute fleet, detailed tactical analyses of hegemony weaknesses, and, most importantly, proof that a supposedly primitive species could fight back and win. Captain Lee Hyojin coordinated the debriefing of hegemony prisoners from her new position as head of alien affairs. The information they provided was invaluable for understanding the enemy's military doctrine and political structure. They're not evil, she reported to the Earth Council. They're just completely convinced that their way is the only way. Most of them genuinely believe that conquest and slavery are natural laws of the universe. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung had become an unexpected source of intelligence about hegemony operations. During his captivity, he had been treated with courtesy and respect, something that gradually broke down his loyalty to an empire that would have abandoned him to die. The hegemony has ruled for 3,000 years, he told Colonel Choi Hyunwoo during one of their regular conversations. But they've grown lazy and arrogant. They expect every species to surrender without a fight. Your victory will shock them more than you realize. Meanwhile, the effects of Earth's message were spreading throughout the galaxy. Species that had been enslaved for generations began to whisper about the possibility of freedom. Worlds that had paid tribute for centuries started to wonder if resistance was possible. On the planet Kepler 442b, the reptilian saurians received the human message and began secret discussions about revolution. Their world had been paying tribute to the hegemony for 500 years, sending half their agricultural output and 20% of their population to serve as laborers. Elder Seiran called a clandestine meeting of the Planetary Council. The humans have shown us that the hegemony bleeds, she said. Perhaps it is time to test their mortality ourselves. Similar conversations were taking place on dozens of worlds throughout hegemony space. The psychological impact of Earth's victory was far greater than the physical damage to a single fleet. Dr. Shin Yoon-seo had been promoted to head of the new Department of Exotic Physics, tasked with developing even more advanced weapons for humanity's growing fleet. The gravity well technology that had proven so effective against the hegemony was just the beginning. We're working on dimensional manipulation, she explained to a gathering of human military leaders. If we can master the same technology that powers their ships, we can turn their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. Captain Nam Soo-jin commanded one of the new human exploration fleets that were spreading throughout local space. Each fleet included both military vessels and colony ships, establishing human presence in star systems that had previously been controlled by the hegemony. We're not conquering, she explained to her crew as they approached their 5th new star system. We're liberating. Any species that wants to be free from hegemony control is welcome to join us. The human expansion was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of demanding tribute, humans offered trade agreements. Instead of enslaving populations, they provided technology and military support to anyone willing to fight for their freedom. Supreme Commander Vex Morden finally made the decision that would define the next phase of galactic history. Prepare the Grand Fleet, he ordered his staff. We will personally travel to this Earth and end this rebellion before it spreads further. The Grand Fleet was the largest military force the hegemony had ever assembled. 500 ships, including massive planet killers that could reduce entire worlds to ash. It would take months to gather such a force, but when it arrived at Earth, there would be no doubt about the outcome, or so Vex Morden believed. Admiral Kang Dae-ho received intelligence about the hegemony's preparations from multiple sources. Human spy networks had been established throughout alien space, often with the help of enslaved species eager to see their oppressors defeated. 500 ships, he told the Emergency Defense Council. They're not taking any chances this time. But humanity wasn't the same species that had faced the first tribute fleet. 6 months of analyzing captured technology and expanding their military had transformed Earth into a fortress system, bristling with weapons that defied conventional physics. Dr. Park So-young presented her latest creation to the military leadership, the Stellar Manipulation Array. a network of installations that could actually move stars. We can destabilize their sun, she explained calmly. Create solar flares directed at specific targets. Even turn a star into a weapon with pinpoint accuracy. The hegemony's grand fleet will find themselves fighting our entire solar system. Fleet Admiral Kim Min-ho coordinated the final preparations for what everyone knew would be the decisive battle. Human colonies throughout the galaxy had been fortified. Allied species had been armed with human technology. The message that would follow this battle would determine the fate of every enslaved world in the galaxy. If we win, he told his staff, the hegemony will never recover from the loss of prestige. Species throughout the galaxy will rise up in revolution. If we lose, humanity becomes extinct and our allies are enslaved forever. Colonel Choi Hyun-woo, now promoted to general, oversaw the training of human pilots in new fighter craft that were more advanced than the ships they had destroyed in the first battle. Each pilot was equipped with weapons that could tear holes in space-time itself. Remember, he told his squadrons, we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that dreams of freedom. The message that humanity prepared for transmission after the coming battle was already written. It would be broadcast regardless of the outcome, ensuring that the galaxy would know what had happened in the Sol system. Fleet Commander Yoon Tae-sung, who had chosen to stay on Earth rather than return to the hegemony, helped draft the final transmission that would be sent to his former commanders. Tell them, he said to Admiral Kang Dae-ho, that they brought this upon themselves. The hegemony created its own worst enemy when it threatened a species that refuses to kneel. As the hegemony's grand fleet began its journey toward Earth, carrying enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems, humanity made its final preparations. The weapons were charged, the allies were ready, and the message was prepared. Dr. Shin Yoon-seo stood in her command center, watching the approach of 500 enemy ships on long-range sensors. They think they're bringing overwhelming force, she said to her assistants. They have no idea what overwhelming force actually looks like. The greatest battle in galactic history was approaching. When it was over, the universe would never be the same. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned ESS Terra Nova, humanity's most advanced warship. Around him, his crew prepared for a fight that would determine whether freedom or slavery ruled the galaxy. All stations report ready, Captain Lee Hai-jin announced from her position as his second-in-command. Kang Dae-ho looked out at the approaching enemy fleet and smiled grimly. The hegemony had made the same mistake twice. They had underestimated humanity. All units, he said into his microphone, broadcasting to every human ship, station, and installation in the solar system. This is Admiral Kang Dae-ho. The enemy approaches with 500 ships. They believe this makes them strong. Let us show them what strength really means.